genuinely, okay. All right. I'll admit, sometimes I'm a contrarian, but in this particular video, I'm not trying to be a contrarian. I just didn't like a rather popular book, especially a rather popular book for men like myself. So, hello and welcome to The Bad Reader. My name's Joe. If you have never seen me before, you don't know who I am, welcome. It's nice to meet you. Thanks for stopping by. So, I don't take this lightly because criticizing an author's work, like, I can't even imagine the amount of struggle that goes into writing a book, because I know the struggle that goes into just reading a book. So there's a lot of work, there's a lot of life experience involved, and quite frankly, there's a lot of personal experience on how you might vibe with a book versus how I vibe with a book. So it's very subjective. Like, this is my review, and I've seen a few videos actually before making this video on Dr. Robert Glover, and also like kind of his mannerisms and other things. He seems like a cool dude. I don't know him personally, so I'm not trying to shit all over him here. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. In my 1 out of 10 rating of this book, I ranked it at I think it was like a 1.5 or 2. This book did not resonate with me at all. In fact, at times I just flat out didn't like it. And I'm going to go over why in this video, and I would be very curious to see if any of you guys agree or disagree, or whoever read this book is curious. I'm just very interested to see if you guys will end up agreeing with all these points. So this is a book written by somebody who has their doctorate, which I do not, about family and marital psychology, and then also working with men to essentially no longer be a nice guy, right? And by nice guy, it's not necessarily saying that somebody that is doing something else for other people is bad. It's just kind of taking the standpoint that you really need to start thinking of the self as a man more, and this will cause others to kind of respect and gravitate towards you, right? So for me, I got recommended this book by another YouTuber that I was watching a video of, like, self-help books and other things. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. But I should have kind of known right out the gate that I would not align with this. I am not saying I am a confident person at all, because I guess I got a little bit of confidence. I'm a YouTuber, but at the end of the day, like, I wouldn't say that's my number one thing. But what I do struggle with greatly is being too selfish in my life and thinking of myself too much rather than others. This comes up in my faith, where I always try to think of other people. When I really struggle, I'm always thinking about my own hobbies, my own self. And I want to think about my wife 10 times more than I do, and all of those other things, because I don't feel like what I do is enough in that department. So for me, I kind of have the opposite issue that this book is kind of advising. I wanted to still read it because I figured that, hey, maybe I'll learn something about myself that I don't know, and maybe if I don't know, if a buddy or somebody was coming to me and they were experiencing the exact issues that this title and the book was beginning to talk about, then I would feel that way. But quite frankly, although there were little areas at the end of each individual's story, I didn't feel like there was anything necessarily groundbreaking in this book that was like a great list of things to do after reading it. It just made me super uncomfortable that almost every chapter by name, Dr. Glover does not mention anywhere in the book that I could see, or maybe I missed it, that all these, I don't know what you're called when you're, like, in therapy. I go to therapy weekly at this point, so I don't know if it's like a patient or whatever, but regardless, I'm going to call them patients for this video. He's using their own stories to talk about his points, and by name. And that, again, that just didn't sit right with me. Like, I view therapy as such like a very, I don't want to say sacred, but like a very close-knit thing. Like you're revealing a lot about yourself. You're really showing a lot to another person. It takes a lot to do that. And I just can't imagine with how this is phrased in this way that a lot of the people that were referenced in this book as patients of his like feel super good about that, because even at the end of every chapter I just didn't feel like there was a huge eye-opening experience of each patient talking about like, hey, I'm a nice guy, this is an entire chapter of all of my biggest things that I do wrong and all of my childhood traumas that are causing this to be an issue for me. And then at the end of the chapter, like you would have thought it's like a whole other chapter of like all these other things that this person is doing right. And although there was stuff sprinkled throughout, it didn't really hit that was the case for me. It felt a lot more like kind of like, look at these idiots. You know, that's not at all what he's saying in the book, but that's what it felt to me as the reader. I personally cannot follow along with a storyline where there are like a bunch of different stories wrapped up into one story. My brain, my ADHD brain, just goes bonkers when that happens because I am committed to like the one person story. I'm very interested in that. And then when it switches to another story and another person, another example, I don't find that helpful or able to allow me to understand the rhetoric any better. It just makes it more confusing to me. And then also, I feel like, I don't want to say this because it really sounds so shitty, and I'm not trying to be this shitty, but I want to be honest with you guys. These are all like raw opinions on books that are very special to me. I love books, and I love talking about them. So let me put it to you this way. If a solution to a problem, right, takes like roughly, I don't know the exact page count anymore, like roughly 200 pages, right, to talk about just the solution to the problem, that's a huge solution to probably a very big problem, right? But if a very large portion of those 200 pages is other individual stories and how your solution worked for those individuals, it always comes across to me as a way to fill a larger portion of the book, right? Like rather than just one or two. And Dr. Glover is not the only author that I've had this complaint with. There are many other more like self-help design books where the entirety of the book is more along the lines of how I'm literally going to somehow strangle this fly alive if it continues to fly in my face. Maybe I should take some points to this book. So when it comes to filling that, like there are quite a few others that I've read and listened to where I'm like, okay, like I get it. That solution works. It works for a lot of people. I understand it. What's the next solution? Because that didn't, in my mind, fulfill like the entirety of this big, massive, revelation of what is trying to get pushed across in a book. So for those reasons, I do not recommend this book. It didn't feel like it was kind of driving towards a more well-rounded man as much as it was just like, it felt to me like a very, very early version of this like hustle and alpha culture that we are trying to push men to today. Now, I'm not saying there's not a problem with the modern man making that into a better version of what a man should be. I totally agree with that, but I think the alpha curve, the hustle curve is the opposite end of the swing of the curve, right? And this just seems like a very early version like that, like more of like how to be a dick, kind of, if I'm being honest. That's kind of what it really came across to me, rather than being more of a like well-rounded person. So if you made it till now, you'll probably dig another type of video that I have on this channel. That'll be over to the left. And then also, we might be vibing it out a bit. You lasted, what, like 10, 9, 10, 11 minutes, whatever this video is, with me. So this button over here, the subscribe button, that one's for you. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more great content coming soon.